You know what? This right here is something that a lot of generic main characters would kill to have. That poker face. When I saw that scene happen, I just chuckled. I had a deep chuckle as soon as that popped up in this episode. I'm like, I commend the dude for having a poker face when he sees something like that, when he sees two girls just completely wanting to service him, basically. And he's just like, what? Why are you doing this? Like, he was just completely confused. I gotta say, I had a good laugh from that. But anyways, before I continue, I know many of you were worried, thinking I dropped the series. I didn't drop it. I was very busy yesterday, had a lot of stuff I needed to do, and basically I just didn't have the time to really, watch Death March yesterday, or watch, After the Rain, or work on, the Hunter x Hunter stuff, or even read it. Actually, I didn't even read it. I read it this morning, obviously, but, pretty much, I just didn't have time. So don't worry, didn't drop the series, didn't drop After the Rain, didn't drop this. Don't worry, don't be freaking out. So, anyways, let's get into the latest episode of Death March. So, for the most part, this episode is mainly centered around our main cast of characters besides our MC. For instance, our support characters and the characters that have become slaves, or now are working underneath, our MC, Satu. Now, this is something I want to talk about, actually. Apparently in this episode, Arisa, the new girl and all that, the one that was, able to kind of slightly brainwash our MC, well, apparently she was actually saying the main male characters in a way, or name in a way, that was like what I was trying to pronounce it in the first episode, Sato and all that. Apparently, Satu is actually not correct, and the proper way to actually pronounce it is Sato, and I was like, okay, so Sato is the proper way. It's not Satu. It's just because they don't know how to say it, is why they've been saying his name like they have, all weird like that. So that was clarified in this episode, and I was like, okay, that's incredibly shocking. I actually like that, because I haven't really seen that a lot in anime and manga. Usually when there's like a barrier of language and all that, like if a main male character comes into a new world and there's like a barrier of language, usually it doesn't matter because the characters can speak proper Japanese in the first place. It's how it is. It's like how English movies are. Some reason if they go to foreign countries, perfect English all around, and we know that's not the case. And so what I'm getting at is that pretty much, I like that little detail. It's very minor, it's nothing major, it's nothing that makes this episode amazing, it's a little detail that makes me respect the series for the fact that they have been mispronouncing his name and calling him, Satu, but it's actually Sato instead of, what we all thought it was. So I like that. That is definitely something that stood out to me. Now, getting into the slave part of the episode, so we get a lot of clarification on Arisa and also Lulu. I think that's her name, the girl next to Arisa in this episode. We get some clarification of where they kind of came from, what happened to them, and also kind of, what drove them into slavery in the first place. And Arisa apparently was, at one point in time, a princess. She was a princess. She actually is a reincarnation of someone that died in another world, which is from Japan. And I was like, whoa, this is a lot of details. Like, there was just a lot of info right in that moment. And I was just like, confused why the MC didn't really try to go further and elaborate on the info he just learned from the girl. He might have found out more stuff that maybe wasn't shown, but overall though, we found out that Arisa, the one that's now serving underneath him now, she, at one point in time, she was in Japan, she died and was reincarnated in this world, and through the reincarnation process, you start from age 0. So, let's say you were in, Japan or whatever, in our world, Earth and all that, and you lived to, let's say, age 90 or whatever, 80, or you died at 50, whatever, age you died at, there's a possibility you could be reincarnated in this world, and that would mean that you would start from age 0. Even though you were like 80 or 50, you got reincarnated, but you retain some of the things you knew from the other world. So Arisa, even though she is young, very, very young, like she's a lolly basically, she is technically a lot older than she appears. But at the same time, though, I'm like, that's interesting world building, letting us know how people can come to this world. And at first, when that was first mentioned, I was under the impression that our MC potentially died. Like, I was like, wait a minute, did he die in his sleep, and is that how he arrived here? Then she started going further into clarification that, there's multiple ways. Either you get reincarnated, or, you get summoned. You have a magic circle, you get summoned and all that, and a god, talks to you. And basically, for what I found out, apparently a god did try to summon, our MC, but it's still the entire way it was done, it's very different. So he's like different from the normal hero summonings that happen in this world. But that is nice to know. So apparently it seems like he was summoned to the world. We're getting some clarification to that. And also we have characters that are from Japan as well. So maybe our MC might meet some people that he actually encountered in real life from the other world. That'd be cool. So, yeah, a lot of details. And like I said, I was just very shocked that the MC didn't try to elaborate on that and, like, talk to her and find out any more details he possibly could, but he didn't. Maybe that's just going to be another time and place for that later on in this series. So, besides that, let's also talk about how people view, all of the slaves, or, Pochi, Tama, Lisa, and all that, how they view all of them individually. Pretty much we have it to where there's a lot of discrimination. Not just because they are slaves, but because of their race. And we can see this constantly throughout this episode of how different, our MC is, Sato is compared to everybody else. He looks at all these individuals like they're just normal, like they're family, like they're a part of his, friends or party members. He doesn't care too much about how they look, and he's not discriminating or being prejudiced against the people around him, and he's very different. He's out of the ordinary compared to the normal people that, handle slaves or these individuals like Pochi, Tama, and all of that. And that was a big theme of the episode, showing that Sato is a really good person. He's not malicious, he's not evil, he's not someone that takes advantage of them, and he cares for them deeply, going out of his way to even give up his bed in this episode to allow them to sleep in a bed. Or, he's willing, even though he has a lot of money, he has a lot of power, a lot of levels, he's willing to sleep in a stable just to be with them to make sure they're safe. And he even made them a bed. He went out of his way to buy them clothes. It just showed many times throughout this episode that he's a really good dude. So deep down, he's a stand-up guy that cares about people, and he doesn't want to treat them with disrespect. And he even was curious on what they ate in the past when they were slaves, and apparently he's like, wait, what? They apparently ate bread and stuff. That's all they ate, bread, and sometimes when they didn't get anything, they would have to go out of their way into a middle of some form of fenced area or wherever in a park to get fruit and vegetables, try to eat flowers or whatever. So just really? So I feel very bad for their upbringing, and it just shows that Sato is like, what, I want to try to give these guys a better life, and that's what he tried to do in this episode. So yeah, that was the big theme, the big message of the episode, just showing how good of a character he is compared to everyone else. Now, there is the scene with Arisa, the one that also was reincarnated. There's a scene to where she tries to brainwash the MC, and we get a lot of details of how at one point in time she was a princess, and she used her knowledge of her previous life to try to rule her country, but that failed in the end, and eventually she got put into slavery. That's kind of the main thing that happened to her in her life, and it's kind of sad overall, and we can see that, there's definitely a bond between these two characters, and it does make me wonder if the MC is going to eventually talk to her and explain more about his past or where he came from for her to understand, because it's obvious that, she knows that this man is very different, okay? He's very different from the normal person. She knows he was somehow put in this world, either reincarnated, summoned, or something. She knows that, but, he didn't clarify or even explain, so I do wonder when he's going to go into details and explain who he really is to Arisa in the upcoming episodes. So, yeah, that's, pretty much it when it comes to this episode. It's a very simple episode. We have a nice food scene and all that, and that's pretty much it. So, is it good? Yeah, it was a good episode. I had fun with it, and it's nothing amazing. I know many people are already dropping this series or hating on this series because I do admit, it's nothing original. There is things about this series that just feels very generic and it does. I'm not gonna lie, the MC does feel very generic, but even then though, it is pretty fun. It is a fun series. It's enjoyable. That's basically as far as I'm gonna go with that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. So please be safe, stay healthy, stay warm, or, stay cold if it's hot where you live. Chibi out.